Well, this is about the definition of a bad day. Running the H loader. I know none of the videos showing this thing getting the loader put on it have come out yet, but they'll be coming out soon. But I was running it to clear up an old sawmill that was sitting here. Pretty much nothing left. Another video that'll be coming out soon. Me getting the sawmill home. I had a couple last pilings down there to move. These two to move. We're going down there to stack them down there. A couple little picks left to do and a little bit of grading work to make it look like it was never there, like over there. And I was backing out with these last two pilings. You can see the tracks. And kind of went clunk and the wheel fell off. You can see where Spindle dug into the ground. And you can see it was already cracked on either side. So, not that shocked that it finally went, but it's annoying that it did it now. Things been actually pretty decently reliable for the whole job up here. Just a couple of minor breakdowns. Shattered those pins in the loader, blew up the pump, but I knew that was happening anyway. Or the pump for the loader, but I knew that was happening. Probably why the loader was at a consignment yard for $400. Surely couldn't have had anything to do with the condition of the loader. But now I've got to get the rest of the spindle out so that I can take it down to the shop and machine a new spindle for the wheel to ride on. But, of course, made more difficult by somebody attempting to tighten up wear and slop in the steering by just throwing booger welds at it. So, I have to zip those off the grinder, then the whole spindle should just pretty much fall out. And yes, that is snow falling. I don't think the camera is picking it up very well, but I'd hope to get the whole sawmill in before snow. .7/8 head and a 1-incher in the nut. Yeah. And on well-maintained machines that have been rubber welded back together by hacks, this bolt is all that's really supposed to retain this. I meant to catch this process on video anyway, because these spindle housings pack up with grease, then they get super hard to steer. But that had meant to be in its own video, not having to do this field repair. There's the knee falling over in the mud. There's the tie rod bracket out. And let me go get something to put under this, because there's an uncaged roller bearing in here that likes to spew all of its rollers all over the floor when you pull it out. That's pretty darn hard to turn. That directly correlates to how easy to steer your tractor is. And there's the spindle shaft out. And this is why getting these spindles apart and cleaning them out. The very, very important step to making these factory IH wide fronts steer is all this is grease that's about the consistency of modeling clay. And none of these rollers wanted to spin. This was all stuck in there. I had to pry it out. So, I'll circle back to these bearings when I go to put this thing back in, because I'll have to do a lot more cleanup on this than I thought I did. Because that side pretty much just fell right out. But, yeah. This is almost certainly a large portion of my hard steering. So here's the tire, or whole wheel that came off the H. That's where it broke. On that flash dress is pretty fresh, and I don't know if the camera will pick it up, but along that line up there is all old crack. That one, I'm certain the camera won't pick it. There, actually, it's picking it up really nicely. That really looks like it's more bad metallurgy than actual regular. I think that would be a ductile fracture across there. I could easily be wrong. I'm no metallurgist. But you can see the crack continuing down there. And there's a darker line of rust across there where it was already cracked. So that was damaged before I ever started putting a loader on it. Probably I'm almost certain the tractor had a loader on it before, so that's probably where that damage came from. Now I've just got to get the stump of the spindle out of here so I can make a new one. And last bolt. And the whole thing just kind of comes up out of the way. See, there's still some grease in there. Oh, you get back here. Hey, my lucky day. There's even a cotter pin instead of a nail. So here's the spindle after first day of work, or partway through the second day of work on it. Got the knuckle, I guess you'd call it for lack of a better word, into the mill yesterday. Got the stump bored out. Actually, I was able to save the threads. Just punched a hole in that. Turns out what International did was they threaded it in, then job welded either side of it there. So just drilled out the remains of the spindle. What's left of the threads. Got it pretty close, actually. Then just sat there with a Dremel and buzzed those two out. Let's see, this shaft this pivots on is actually pretty nasty. That's where that super dry grease in that bearing was. I'm almost thinking this is damage from when the tractor was lost in the mud pit. Then down here on the big lathe is the start of the new spindle. See, there's the old one next to it for comparison. See, we've got the threads cut into it. There's rough bore for where the first ref land for the first bearing. In there will be taper. That'll be the outer bearing. We've got threads stepped in there. Need to finish those two, put the taper in, then flop it around, cut the threads on the other side for where it screws into the knuckle. And pop the hole in the end there for the cotter pin. This is actually a bearing or a seal holder as best I can tell. As this presses on there, then on this race go, well, it'd be smart if I brought them down to the other end of the shop. These two are outside lip seals that are fixed on the spindle and the wheel pivots around these. Alright, back at the tractor, the repaired spindle, and not as many tools as I thought I had. Well, that's up into the second bearing. So now, I can load the rollers. Now, this bearing has 17 rollers in it, but I would not take that as any kind of indication as to how many they're supposed to have, because the other side had 15, and the parts book calls for 20 rollers on the HVs, although those are taller, so it might have been heavier duty. And the parts book doesn't actually call out individual rollers for these wide fronts. They want a sealed bearing, which, as I've discovered, can't really find anywhere. This one really should be replaced, given how pitted and ugly everything is on it. It's not like a high-speed bearing. It has to rotate through maybe 90 to 100 degrees of arc regularly. That's about all. Unless I'm really spinning the wheel, it's not high speed at all either. Those seem to be spinning happily now. Up, up, and away they go. Wheel is back on. It wound up fighting me a bit to get that thrust bearing to line in. As it turns out, there's a little burr on the inside of the axle, so I kind of had to tap it up into position a little bit. Now, next part of the video, how to properly adjust the toe-in on these Farmall. Too many things with farm is part of the name. Farmall, farmhand. Got twisted up trying to say the name of the other one. Now, my tie rod steering gear up here is all way tweaked. This has been broken and brazed. It should sit nice and flat. Over on this side, this arm is supposed to be straight. It is not. That's been broken. I know there's a gubber weld in it, but it's all twisted. You look at the pictures of these, they're supposed to sit with the steering gear all nice and tidy and orderly. This one doesn't do that. So first step is going to be cracking loose these bolts, pinch bolts on either side, and that's to cant those arms in as far as you can. Basically, that gets them as far away from the wheels as possible and as close together as possible, so that the tie rod doesn't have to be any longer than it absolutely needs to be. Now, you do want these pretty tight. So if it's Angry Gorilla tight, not the end of the world, as long as you can actually get it apart. Now it's just got these tight so they're not slipping on the pinion shaft. So I just did, so it shouldn't be too tight, since I left it to be loosened this step. Nope. The other one I torqued down to Angry Gorilla tight. There. That's last all need of wrenches, but normally on these there's a jam nut here. You have to back off before you can spin this tie rod end. You should have them. This one had it, but you can see that gold thread there. When I got all of this unstuck, the nut galled, and it's a bit of a screwball size. I'll throw it in a caption, and I haven't gotten around to finding another one yet. But what you will need, which I thought I had all my props out. Next tool you'll need just a simple tape measure. You want to take measurement. You want to do measure between the front and trailing, leading and trailing edges of the tubs, level, or of the between the leading and trailing edges of the rim at the same level as the tire, or as the hub. $58.5. 58. Wheels need to be pinched a little tighter together. And to do that, all you have to do is lift this pin out, which again should be a cotter pin through there, and draw them together. Let's try 2 turns. Going for between 1/4 and 3/8 of an inch toe in. 58 1/4 and 58. So see. Moved it another couple turns. One too many. Quarter. 58. Just under a quarter. So, one more revolution, and should be adjusted right around 58. 58 and a quarter. So that should be the front end adjustment. And now the only stuff left is fire it up and check my work. And doing that and cleaning out the press bearings on either side of the spindle should be one good steering H. Far easier than it ever was to steer this thing.